Welcome to another episode of Taste Porto Bites and Insights Podcast. I'm your host, Ricardo, and today we have a special guest,
Hello.
Tiago.
How are you, Ricardo?
How do you feel?
I am feeling very good.
Yeah?
Thank you. What about yourself?
I'm great. I'm phenomenal.
Wonderful. Thank you
It's
for
been a
having me
while
here.
since I last saw you.
It is. Yeah. It's
I know
been
you
a long now.
personally, quite a while.
Indeed.
You had a lot of adventures.
Yes.
Can I start by asking you, how is it coming back to Porto?
So first of all, thank you for having me here. This is a pleasure for me. It's a pleasure to talk to you. What's like to come back to Porto? It feels like coming back home.
Mhm.
First of all, it's been a while since I've been since I returned. Right, it's been about almost 10 years, and I arrived when Monday, so a couple of days ago, and
So this is Thursday today.
yeah,
Okay.
today is Thursday, and I'm still like settling. I
Mhm.
haven't really unpacked my stuff yet, so it's a process. It's very exciting. It's a little stressful too. Changing everything again and starting from the ground up again.
Mhm.
But in general, I'm very excited for it.
Where were you for
So
these 10
before
years?
I moved to Canada, I was in Toronto, and I was working there within the food business in a place called the Cheese Boutique,
Uh-huh.
which is like a family business, cheese charcuterie store, family run business, 60 years, you know. The staff has been there from like, I don't know, since the day one, there's ladies working the cashier that's been around for 50 years there. It's amazing. So it was a very good place for me to work. The city itself, it's really interesting. It's massive, right, compared to Portugal, you know.
I love that you didn't even go like it's massive like, compared to Portugal.
No, I think that city almost has like the whole population of Portugal almost, right? So, but it's very interesting. It was a very good experience. I was there about 10 years, as I said, and I felt it was time for me to, come
Come back
back.
home.
Yeah, come back home, and start doing something for myself. Yeah.
Mhm. And before you left
Mhm.
to Toronto,
Yeah.
you were in Portugal working with.
I was. So just before I left to Toronto, in Portugal, I went through a couple of places. I went through a couple of places with you,
Mhm.
which was very fun.
It's still a pleasure.
We had such a great time. And then I did my work experience between hotels, restaurants. I worked in the Douro Valley. I worked in some really nice places, Michelin star, non-Michelin
I'm
star.
just gonna ask you for a favor.
Yeah,
I can see that you have a knife tattooed
I
in your
do.
forearm. Does that mean that you're a chef?
No, it means I'm a killer. No, no, of course. It means I'm a chef. This is a santoku knife. It's a paring knife for
Uh-huh.
vegetables mainly. And I don't know. I had that for a while, but yes, I'm a chef, and food is my passion.
And is there any particular dish that you really enjoy doing? It's like a go-to dish.
A go-to dish for me will be like anything that's like a one-pot dish. I love those big stews,
Mhm.
feijoadas, like seafood, cataplanas, like shareables, one big pot meals.
Things where you can mix everything in the same place and it turns out
Keeps
delicious.
adding on the flavors, keeps adding on, like
And
slow food.
how was it being in Canada and not having access to products that were so common here?
Well, it was difficult at the beginning. Surprisingly, there's a lot of Portuguese products there because there's a huge Portuguese community there, mainly coming from the Azores Islands. So I lived for a while in a area of the city that it's called Little Portugal. So that was really nice because you can still go to the bakery in the morning and have your espresso and your the tosta mista, right? So that was very
So
nice in
you
that sense.
in the end you did a partial move. You didn't
Yeah,
do a
yeah.
whole move.
Still very different because the food itself is different, like the
Mhm.
ingredients, right? Like the quality of the wheat is different, the quality of the rice is different. a lot of things are a lot more processed there,
Hmm.
and you can tell that. Well, you cannot really like tell it as much in the flavor, but your body can feel it. You get a lot more like bloated there in a
Hmm.
way. Your body has a
Yeah,
more like yeah, it's a little more difficult to digest
to
food.
digest.
Yeah,
Do you think it's to do with the fact that the mass production of items is mandatory, so you have to regulate it more,
I would say
and
that.
here, due to the fact that we're a smaller country, it's easier to have more natural products?
Yeah, I think they are like a lot more into the GMO stuff too,
Hmm.
right? So that makes that's it. Your body is not
That's
that used to
curious
it.
because you worked there as a chef
Yes.
for the whole 10 years you've been there. You
Oh,
worked
yeah.
as a chef, and do you felt that people took things very serious, like gluten free, dairy free, and that's a big
Yes.
thing there?
Yeah. There it's a lot like more preeminent than here,
Hmm.
and it's people take more respect with that.
Hmm.
They are like if you say that you are a vegan, right? They will make sure, at least the places that I've been,
By
make sure that the food that it's being cooked, it's vegan.
by
And by
vegan you mean like chicken, things like.
I mean, like you're not using the same cutting board, right? You're not using the same fryer, which, like,
Uh-huh.
majority of the places are like, yeah, I'm vegan and I will eat French fries, but you will fry the French fries in the same place where you fried the cutlets, the
No.
breaded
Yeah.
cutlets, right? So it's no longer vegan anymore.
But it's curious because you would say then that in comparison to the products that
Hmm.
people have access over there in Canada, they have a lot more reaction physically than here. So
Yes.
do you think that a lot of people that come to Portugal and really are like they underline the part gluten free, it's out of an idea of the feeling physically they have there, or it's just or it's really like a big thing?
It's a big thing, but like the majority, from my experience, the majority of people that are like gluten
Because
intolerant.
I'm not talking about celiacs and
That's the thing, right? Like and I think maybe that's why, because like the food is so processed, right? That you eat all of this gluten products, the gluten is not really proper broken down,
Mhm.
and then you get like a kind of allergic reaction, right?
Was there any big meal you prepared in Canada that really like you felt the reaction of the people eating it like, oh my God,
I had
I
a couple.
did something here to these people. I ruined their rest of the life with food expectation. They
I
want
think so.
this. Yeah.
I think so. I think I was lucky because some of the part of the business at the cheese boutique was offsite catering.
Hmm.
So if you want to have a party in your place, and have a couple friends, and you don't want to do anything, you'll give me a call. I'll come by. I'll bring the food. I'll bring the plates, the glassware, the cutleries. We'll do like a full-on service. I'll go to your house. I'll cook there. We'll serve everything, 3, 4 courses. Open the barbecue. Start grilling and it's very nice, right? Because then we'll bring this Portuguese kind of like a churrasco experience. They love it.
You're like the MacGyver of food over there.
Yeah, and they love that, right? Because they're used to steak all the
Mhm.
time, always the same. And then you bring them something with a bone, and they're like, ooh, what's that? Bring different cuts, that they're not really used to them and make them nice, and they're like, oh, I never tried this before. What is it? And like, it's just a different part of the cow, man, that you normally don't eat. This is the tail,
Uh-huh.
and I made a stew with it, like
Were there a lot of those Portuguese like big dishes that you started preparing and you started having people wanting it more often?
Yes. So at the store, when I started being the chef there, I introduced a couple of our dishes, bacalhau com natas,
Fish
with
with cream.
yeah,
Hmm.
with it like the cod fritters, how do you call rissoles? Like
The
patties.
patties. Yeah.
Yeah. So patties, shrimp patties, meat patties, and it was a very good hit.
Hmm.
We started making some soups too, and canjas and chicken noodles and things like that. That was very good. Other courses, bacalhau à brás. I don't really know how to translate that.
It's brash cod.
It's
I think it
brash
has no
codfish,
translation. It's ours.
probably.
Yeah.
So, and there was a good reaction. People like, oh, this is nice. I never tried this.
And you think that's to do with the simplicity of Portuguese cooking? Because like codfish brash
Yeah.
style, it's one of the most easy to do recipes. It's just hard to get it to the right point
Yes.
of the fries and the
Yeah.
egg and the olives,
It's a
parsley.
consistency,
Yeah.
right?
It's the texture of it more than the actual. You don't need a lot,
Hmm.
but it's incredibly tasty. Do you feel that's one of the particularities about Portuguese gastronomy that makes it different from a lot of the other European?
Yes, I think our food, in a way, it's simple, but it's very complex at the same time. Because as you said, right, like the hardest part is to make things that are simple taste very, very good,
Hmm.
right? So I think one of the things is the simplicity for sure. And then it's just like how unusual these flavors are for them, right? They eat a lot of cod there, but it's
Hmm.
fresh. They
Yeah.
don't really eat salted cod, only like in the Portuguese communities. And once we start introducing it to them, and they're like, oh, we like this. What is this? And they're like, oh, it's cod. It was dried and cured and this and that. And they're like, ooh, how do you do it? And then you start explaining to people. So, and then they learn a bit, then they want to try it. And then they go and look for Portuguese recipes. Then they will come to the store and they're like, hey, Tiago, teach me how to do this because I read this recipe, and it looks really simple, but I cannot get it right.
So you were, for these 10 years you've been in Canada, like an ambassador to Portugal?
I would say a bit, but not too much
Mhm.
because the store itself, where I was working, was very multicultural too, right? Toronto is a very
Yeah. It's a
multicultural city.
melting pot, right?
Yeah, they love to call the melting pot indeed there. I don't know why. Nothing melts there. you
It's
know,
called.
Nothing melts.
You had a
But
hard time adjusting to the difference in temperature, being that you're coming originally
in the
from a place
wintertime,
near the
100%.
ocean.
Yeah,
You surf.
I do.
How was it for you going inland?
It was very difficult. Not too bad there because Toronto has a massive lake, right?
Mhm.
There's Lake Ontario right there. So you don't really see the other end of the lake, right? So it kind of almost feels like oceany without waves, you know? So that part was not too bad. The weather itself was a challenge at the beginning, you know? I was not, I was not ready to experience, minus 25.
Does it make a difference between -10?
After minus 10, the thing is, after minus 5 is always cold, right? Yeah,
That's
always
the
cold.
point.
The big difference is when your eyelashes, your nose starts to freeze, right? And you're walking on the street and suddenly there's like, icicles like growing on your nose.
And you cook with that?
And you cook with that. You make a nice icicle reduction and then you foam it and
Uh-huh.
oh, yummy.
But going a little bit further back in the
Yes.
conversation, out of all these people that went to the place where you were working
Hmm.
and cooking for them, did it came to a moment where you started receiving people that, after getting introduced to Portuguese gastronomy by you,
Hmm.
came to Portugal and then decided to go back and share the experience?
So many.
Yeah,
So many. It's impressive. Like everyone is traveling to Portugal.
you feel?
Everyone.
When did you came?
Me, myself, Monday.
So you're traveling to Portugal.
But I'm not leaving anymore. I travel and I'm staying now. But a lot of people are like a lot of our clients there. They're like, "Oh, I'm going to Portugal this year," and I will easily like 30-40% of our customers will come to Portugal like more than once a year.
Hmm.
And they're like, "Oh, that country is lovely. Food is amazing. People are awesome. It's still very like price." Like it's
Manageable.
yes, it's still very manageable. Flights are not bad. You get direct flights to Porto from Toronto. So a lot of people, and then they will come back and they're like, "Oh, I was there. Want to show me pictures?" I made a couple like even like routes and like itineraries to people, like, "Oh, you should go here and there and there."
And a lot of those people, they visited Porto.
Yeah, majority,
Yeah.
majority. A lot of people are coming first to Porto, and then like go south eventually, because everybody wants to end up in Algarve
Hmm.
somehow.
Coming from a place where there's 25 minus.
That's the thing. But in the summertime, there is like plus 30 too, huh?
Ooh.
Yeah, but muggy. It's awful.
Yeah.
It's awful.
But having all those things set aside now,
Hmm.
you left Portugal 10 years ago and you're now coming back.
Yes.
What are your biggest fears about this adaptation? Has anything happened already, being that you arrived Monday, today's Thursday?
Yeah.
Is there anything that kind of like hits you in the back of your head going like, ah, okay, I forgot this and this is here.
Yes. Portuguese services
Yeah.
like banks, social security, like
Bureaucracy, you say?
bureaucracy stuff. We take it at a very, very slow pace. Very slow pace. There's no sense of like let's do it, let's get this done. And you need to do this, let's figure it out as fast as we can so I can like get the next person.
Hmm.
Here people take their time, and I was not like used to that anymore.
Yeah. 10
uh,
years outside.
yes, don't get me wrong, things are still slow there, things take time, right? Like here, but in general you'll see that if people are working, they want to finish their work,
Hmm.
and be done with it, instead of like, let's make it
Take
last.
it easy.
Yes.
Like we say here,
Yeah.
take it easy, take it easy.
So that was the only thing that like already shocked me a little, because I have quite a bit of bureaucracy
Yeah,
to deal with it.
paperwork. Yeah.
But besides that, I think the thing that's going to be a little more difficult for me to adapt again, it's going to be again the cultural, like, not shock, but right, because there was so many different things, so many different cultures, right, and everybody's very acceptance of everybody
Hmm.
else. I feel that we are moving also in that direction, but we still have some ways to go.
A path
Yeah.
to undergo. And 10 years ago, what was the city you left behind?
Say it again. Sorry.
What was the city you left behind leaving to Toronto
Well, I left
10 years
Porto.
ago? Yeah,
Yeah.
but how was Porto 10 years ago?
It was different. It was a little in a rougher shape,
Hmm.
building wise, street wise. Things were very broken down. But I guess with tourism, things are popping out. All the buildings are looking very nice. Everything's getting renewed. I think, unfortunately, it's probably not being done in the best way for the locals. It's
Hmm.
more done with the tourists in mind. But the city is looking a lot better. And I hope with their transportation and services, I don't know it yet, but like just from the outside, the city looks much better.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Appealing,
it
at
looks a
least.
lot more appealing for sure.
And for all this time, you had friends, obviously, talking to you,
Mhm.
communicating, and you visited a couple
Yeah.
of times. Uh, Anything that like standed out throughout these 10 years that you were kind of like, oh, I don't know how this is gonna end up, but I hope this turns out okay.
Mm, I don't think so. I
No.
don't think I had anything that I was like hoping that would like. I hope that our tax system improves. I would love to see that, but I don't think it will. Not soon, at least. But I think, like in general, I don't think I have anything that I think Portugal is in a good place, not trying to move too fast.
Yeah.
I think that's one of our best qualities and worst qualities at the
Do
same
you
time.
think that we're not moving too fast because there's a lot of people going like, well, do you still you need the paper for the paper that you need the
Yes.
paper for?
And
It,
then you bring the paper and they say it's not that paper.
it's the other
It's
one.
the other paper.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think in general we are moving in a good direction. I think the country itself, it's like improving
Hmm.
for quality of living. And now I'm here to make it even better.
Thank you. And trying to help other people moving back, but
Mhm.
without the previous experience of being raised here and living here, a big part of their lives. What is like the main recommendation that you keep telling yourself that you have to have moving back to Portugal that you would give as an advice to someone coming back or to someone coming in?
I would say that that's it. The quality of life, the how do you say it? The work the
Balance?
balance with the lifestyle. Here it's a lot better.
Hmm.
Okay. I think that's it. People have a lot more respect for the family itself and
Hmm.
for being surrounded by family. And that's very different there.
Hmm.
People, everything's so far away, right? Like the distances are massive
So
there.
an advice that you would give is
Advice that I'll give: come and slow down.
slow down.
Slow down like the
Take it easy.
Portuguese services do. you know? That's what I'll say.
And did you feel going to Canada that you had to really step up your game and base it up?
A little. I was always fast-paced
Hmm.
worker per se. But there, when I got there, I noticed that that's it. The majority of the people are like that. They are very work oriented,
Hmm.
and they have a lot of their identity based around on what they do, right? As here, we are more like I am Tiago. I'm a chilled person and I cook for a living, right? There's like, hey, I'm Tiago. I'm a chef. You know, they focus their identity a lot on what they do.
on their work.
Yeah.
And because you're a chef and because you cook for
Mhm.
a living, how did it came to be? How did you start cooking? How did you develop that interest?
I would say it was family,
Uh-huh.
right? And so my grandmothers, grandfathers, mom, dad, everybody likes to cook. And as a good Portuguese family, we have a big table, everybody sits at the same time, everybody gets served by someone. And so that made me like always want to cook. I only started like, going to the professional cooking when I was about like 22.
Hmm.
I did other things before. And I went to culinary school and I really liked it. And from that moment, it was like, yeah,
My thing.
this is my thing,
Is there any scent? Because I know that gastronomy is in a lot of ways uh the senses and one
Yes.
of the most
Yeah.
vital senses, even though the looks are the first thing that appeal you and draw you in, the smell is evidently the one that leaves more
I would say smell comes
lasting.
first.
It leaves lasting
Yeah.
impressions, right? It doesn't just amaze you with the looks. It penetrates you in a different way
Yes.
before you eat it. Is there any aroma, any scent that you feel in the air and go like, "Oh, I'm in Porto."
Charcoal grilling or wood grilling,
Hmm.
like barbecue, that charred smell and ocean.
An ocean.
And ocean. Yeah.
So perfect for you would be some like grilled
Grilled
squid.
fish. Oh yeah, I had them yesterday. Grilled squid with bunched potatoes. It's fantastic.
Heaven.
Heaven.
Is there a lot of things that you miss having from our local gastronomy?
Yes. The
Can,
fish
can you
mainly.
name a few?
Fish mainly for sure, like ocean fish,
Hmm.
right? Because there we have a lot of they have a lot of like lake fish, which is still very tasty, but it's not the same, right? Because we are used to the ocean. Um, Potatoes have a different flavor
Hmm.
in general too. And then I don't know. The rest they do like some pretty good job with sweets and things like that. They have like some good custards. They work
But
that well.
in terms of what you really want to have again,
Bifanas. I love bifanas.
I
Um,
love how fast it was.
Bifanas. It's so good. Like that's it. The simple stuff, the simple things. I would say
Would you just give me a masterclass on how to do a bifana
a
right now?
100%.
Give it to me.
So, pork leg.
Hmm.
Get it cold almost until it's frozen.
Hmm.
Put it through
The ham cutter.
the ham cutter, the slicer, right? Cut it thin, and then you season it, like not too heavily because you might not use them right away. And then you make your stock, right? And your sauce, beer, tomato, bay leaves, cumin, you know, maybe some whiskey in there, chili peppers. I would like cook that for a day or two for sure. Let it rest, warm it up again, let it rest, develop those flavors. And then customer comes in. Oh, I would love a bifana. And you're like, have that sauce boiling, grab some of that shredded meat, toss it in there, let it cook, right? And then pinch that meat, put it into the bread, dip the bread into the sauce again, and yum 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 with a beer.
The nyam nyam part. How do you do that correctly? I'm
Well,
very
you grab it with your hands
and nyam nyam nyam.
because good food, you want to feel it too. As we were talking about the senses, right? And touching, it's a very, very good thing for food. And you just devour it, and then you ask a second one.
And if I might ask, you were in Canada. It's not a very famous place for wine, even
Not really. They are,
restrictions and
yes,
imported
yeah.
wine.
Oh,
It's
massive.
hard.
Yeah, expensive.
Is there any type of wine you would pair a bifana with, or
From
there's
there,
from here,
mm,
or you would pair it with something completely different?
well, if I had to pair it with a wine, I would pair it probably with like a green wine
Hmm.
because it will help cut a little of the fats, the bubbles.
But traditionally, bifana is beer.
It's a beer. It's a beer because the beer goes into the sauce, right? So it makes sense, that you have a beer with it. I don't think I would really drink red wine unless it's something like light and crisp, but like nothing like
Like a
too
vinhão, like a
heavy.
fresh Vinho Verde.
Being weird, I would say that it would be
Hmm.
like the best for bifana, but for me, it's beer all the time.
And because it's like a great opportunity, and especially now that you've described from top to finish how to prepare bifana,
Mhm.
I would like to get your impression on what is a francesinha and how much it is important and vital for the Porto identity, the francesinha specifically.
So
You
francesinha,
had one already?
not yet, not yet. I'm still jet lagging, so I'm going
Uh-huh.
with the small stuff for now. And then, once I get my appetite back, francesinha, it's on the menu 100%. So how I do describe a francesinha, I would call it a heart attack on a plate, you know? No, it's delicious. It might give you a heart attack, but down the line.
It's in the long
It's
run.
in the long
Yeah.
run. So francesinha, it actually comes from like a stapled on a French sandwich, like le
Uh-huh.
croque monsieur. And then was adapted by the Porto people to introduce different layers of meat
Uh-huh.
and eggs and more cheese and sauce mainly, right? Sauce, it's what makes really the francesinha, and then the quality of the ingredients again.
Yeah.
So how I would say that it's important. It's a staple in our culture for sure, especially here in Porto. I guess nowadays you can have it like pretty much everywhere.
Even though people here will still be like, no, but if you had it there, it's not
It's
like
not the
it's
same,
not
and I
the
get
good
it,
one.
but you can make it well, if you know what you're doing. But it's very important, and it's a dish that everyone should try coming here. I would recommend to have it for lunchtime and then go for a nice walk because it's a
A lot.
very, very fulfilling dish.
From my information, and
Hmm.
they're telling me up from the studio, you need to run a marathon to burn a francesinha.
Half a marathon,
It's
for
half.
sure. Half, it's
It's
okay.
1,800 something calories a
Dang,
portion.
really?
Yeah.
It's okay. It's still within the daily recommended dose. It's the only dish you can have that day. That's it. Give it to
Maybe you have that
francesinha.
for breakfast and keep eating
I guess you
throughout the
cannot
day.
drink a beer because otherwise you'll go over the 200,
No, I
the
think
2000.
it's taking in consideration
Oh,
egg,
okay.
potato, and a glass of beer.
Okay. So, yes, please have it for lunch or have it for dinner if you're going out after.
Do you recall a place that you really loved going to for francesinha in Porto?
In Porto, I used to like, but it's been a while since I've been there. I used to like to go to Santiago.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of like
Classical one.
classic.
Yeah.
Um, Soli Sombra used to make a really interesting one, which is like in front of Santiago
Mm-hmm.
on the other side of the
I'm
road.
just thinking to check if it's still open or not. I
I'm
don't
not
recall.
sure because I
But
remember.
the studio is giving me the
Is it
information it's
open?
closed.
It's closed. Oh, that's a shame. So not that place anymore. I'm a fan of francesinhas that go to a wood oven.
Uh-huh.
That are baked in a clay dish,
Mm-hmm. Like Lucanda.
like Lucanda. Yes, the last francesinha I had, it was there
You know
actually.
that a lot of the people from Porto they will say or listen to this and go like, "Oh, he knows nothing
He
about
knows nothing.
francesinha."
Maybe I don't. Please, all
Because
the people from Porto, teach me. Show me all the francesinhas. Invite me to all of your places.
I think that if anything speaks volumes or really characterizes people from Porto is this willingness to say something that seems like utter, I don't know, like this is the law, just to go against themselves and say no. But I fully understand. I'm
Portuguese
just
people,
saying
we
this
know
out of
better.
yeah yeah.
We
Yeah.
always know better. At least we think.
What was the thing that for those 10 years really left you like with the saudade that we talk so much? What was like one thing?
Family,
Family.
family for sure. You know, the being close to the family itself and this sense of community. That it's a lot less there. I miss that. It was mainly the thing that made me come back.
Yeah,
Yeah,
family.
family, friends. Being surrounded again with people that have the same interests as me and want to have the same kind of lifestyle.
And what made you go?
Love. Yeah,
Love is always the reason
it's
making
a
us
good
do
reason.
things. Yeah, it
Right?
is a great reason.
It's a good reason. So love made me go there, and I moved there in like 2015. Yeah,
Okay. And now you're back
and now I'm back.
and you're
And love
willing.
brought me back again, I guess. Love for the family.
So you're basically like the boomerang of
Feelings.
Valentine's. You're like,
Of feelings.
very well. And is there any project in the near future, or you're keeping everything open? All options are open.
I'm keeping majority of my options open. I have a couple projects in the on brewing.
Hmm.
Okay, I have
Are you getting bloated with that brewing?
a little, but it's a good bloating that one.
Very well.
I recently acquired the property with my sister that
Hmm.
we are like renovating. It was a whole family home that is like falling down to pieces. So we're gonna renovate that, and I'm like hoping to like in a couple of years to have like an old school bed and breakfast, old school,
Like
not an Airbnb.
stallaging.
Yes, not an Airbnb where I'm like, here, have the keys, do your thing. No, you come to my house. I'll make you breakfast, and then if you want, I'll take you out. We're gonna go
Like one
for
of those the one of the most memorable lodges for
yeah,
travelers that I have in my mind is from Don Quixote's.
yeah,
And it's really that idea that you get into someone's house and he's sheltering you, he's feeding you,
yes,
and possibly giving you good memories for
yeah,
the future journey you're doing.
the full experience.
Do
Yes,
you think that's missing now in the touristic experience worldwide, not only here?
I think so. I
The
think
more
so.
personal, relatable.
And I think people are looking for it.
Yeah.
Like, really. Like going back to where when we were talking about all the people that were like traveling from Canada here, a lot of them would say that it's like it's beautiful, but I was expecting to go to some be a little more like roots,
Hmm.
like old school in that sense. That's it. And nowadays it's a little less like that. It's
But
more
impressions were good of most
yes. Oh
people.
my goodness, everybody loves it. Everybody's like, I'll have to come back, and then they tell their friends, and their friends come. You
Did
know.
anyone share like a particular story about Porto or Portugal in specific
Mm,
that
it's
was kind of
interesting that the
memorable?
majority of people that want to share like a story like that will be like, the bad points,
Oh,
you know?
and what were the main bad points?
It was like very difficult to drive, you know?
Why?
Because they are used to have lanes, they're like so wide, right? Everything is straight there. And then they come here, there's a road like this, there's a bus coming in one way and a bus coming the other way. They start
It's very
freaking out.
confusing, especially after lunch
Yeah.
when everybody has already lubricated
Yes.
themselves. Yeah.
So a lot of people will say that like the driving experience was not the best, but then they would say like their good experiences about like everyone is super friendly. And nowadays everyone speaks English at least a little, And if they are lost, people will like stop what they're doing and they're like, I'll show you where the right road is, and they will like take them there.
And Canadians are famous for being extra super nice.
Yes, they are.
So
They are very
having
nice.
them acknowledging us
Yes.
as nice, it's like, hey,
That's their favorite word. They.
really?
It is. It's
Hey.
a
We're almost finishing.
okay.
The time obviously
Flies.
flies.
Wow.
I have to ask you though, if there's one thing that you will be able to cook in the near future for a group of, say, 30 people, what would it be? Based in Portuguese gastronomy. 30.
Arroz à valenciana. It's like a
It's a
paella.
take on
It's like a
the.
paella. It's like a baked rice with meat and seafood.
Uh,
Okay, so you get a little from the ocean, a little from the land, and then the rice
it's a
crusts on
surf
top.
and
It's
turf with
crispy.
rice.
It's delicious. Little saffron on it. It's delicious. I love it. The Rosa Valenciana.
And what would
It's
you
a good
do
dish to cook, like big.
big?
Yeah,
What would you do as a starter for that?
moelas. Moela gizzard.
Chicken gizzard.
Yeah,
Yeah.
gizzards. Chicken
Again, the
gizzards.
sauce.
Yeah,
The
delicious.
sauce is life. You would agree?
Yes, yeah, 100%. Because with the sauce, right, you can get a piece of meat, fish, whatever, vegetables that it's not the most flavorful, and you can introduce a lot of flavor into it.
There's one question I didn't do though that I feel I must. Bread. How
Bread,
was that over in Canada in comparison to what you had
it's
here?
worse than here.
Yeah.
The quality of the bread is not as good, and it's more sugary.
Mm-hmm.
The majority of their
Sweeter?
sweeter, yeah. Even like their artisanal bread it's, I don't know, maybe it's the flour that it's sweeter itself. But the bread is not as good here. They're now starting, to make the sourdoughs,
Hmm.
bringing some old European
Oh,
recipes there.
fermentation.
And so it's getting better. We have like a bakery in our shop, and we're like also doing all those breads and baguettes and this and that. But I feel that our bread is a lot better.
Out of curiosity, you've already visited the new Bouillon, the renovated
I
Bouillon.
did.
How was the feeling going in?
It feels different
Hmm.
for sure. I was a very big fan of the old one. This one feels a little like stripped of identity,
Hmm.
you know,
Still, yeah.
just because it's very gray, there's no tiles anymore, really, and it feels a little more touristy, less than a old school market where people go to like do their shopping. Feels a little more like it's a tourist attraction now. So that will be my take on the new market. Beautiful still, and it's nice to see that it's like clean, and fixed instead of like falling down with pigeon shit everywhere, you know.
That
So
is the point, I
a
think.
hundred
That is the
percent, it
point.
was a good move. I think design wise, they could have done a little better.
There's always room for improvement as long as
Yes,
you fill these three different papers and then do a duplicate of that other one.
yes, and
It
take six
is
hours.
an immense pleasure to have you back,
Thank you so much.
Tiago. I hope you feel at home
I do.
again. I don't think you've ever not felt at home anywhere you went to be honest. But before we finish this, I want to give you something.
Oh, thank you.
It's something that's immensely symbolic.
That's so nice of you.
It's something that I'm giving out to everyone coming
Okay.
to the podcast,
Okay.
because you're special,
Oh,
just
thank you
like
so much.
everyone else.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
love that everybody's special.
It's a swallow.
I love swallows and
To
dorinhas.
you, it's going to be extremely symbolic
Oh, this
because
is so
they
cute.
represent the necessity of coming
Yeah.
back, and you did come back.
Oh, that is so
So
cute.
welcome
Thank
back
you so much,
to
Ricardo.
Porto, your family as well. So,
It was a pleasure talking to you, as
and we'll see
always.
each other again very soon, I
Yes,
hope.
let's go for a beer.
With a bifana?
Sure.
Let's
That
go.
sounds a great idea.
It was an immense pleasure having you here. We'll be back in a short while for another episode.